fellow vegetable nerds. Thanks so much for hanging out with me once again in my kitchen. I am so happy to be back with you after a week away. I have a recipe to make for you from this cool book that somebody sent me from my Amazon wish list. So let's start meat and veg.
Hey, turn up the caramello and chisel on the shizney. It's time for me to what? Let me introduce myself. I'm Gino Burrito. My pants are made of leather. I find it hard to concentrate.
Before we get started, let me just address the fact that yes, there was no episode last week. That's not how I wanted it to go. It's just how it ended up going. In case you're curious, I attempted on 3 different nights to film 3 different episodes. I had everything prepared, dressed and ready to go and all of the stuff, and had things researched and written down, and I was ready to go, and then everything just sort of went badly. 3 times! And all 3 times I ended up having to stop after hours of attempting to make an episode without ever getting anything filmed. The last time was actually like 3 a.m. on Thursday, the day that the video is supposed to be posted. So like the last possible second. It had been hours and hours and hours of trying to make this video, and I actually finally managed to get the intro filmed. And then Stella woke up, everything went real bad. And then eventually I gave up, which is it's not something I like saying. You know, I don't like doing that. I'm not gonna get into all of that. I actually filmed a thing where I did get into all that, and I was like, you know what, you know what, let that go. Let that go. What I am gonna do, because, you know, I don't wanna sit here and apologize for failing. I think that the best apology is to tell you what I'm gonna do differently in the future. So what I'm gonna do differently in the future is next time, the episode's just gonna get filmed one way or another. Oddly enough, tonight, the second I touched the tripods and stuff and the lights, and I started to set them up, Stella woke up, and I was just like, nope, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I set the lights as quickly as I could. I'm not going to take 3 hours and have lights in my eyeballs and get myself all upset and headachy before I even start filming. I'm not gonna do that. I just set them, and I don't love it, but you know what? We're gonna make an episode. That is the bottom line. We're gonna make an episode. I made a whole video where I was like, hey, here's my mantra, do it shitty, and then I didn't. 3 separate times I didn't do it. Well, guess what? Tonight we're doing it. I'm gonna make a shitty episode tonight. Hopefully it's a nice episode. Hopefully you like it. But if it's not, I'm still gonna make an episode. And if Stella wakes up again and starts doing her thing, well, then I'm gonna make an episode with some cat noises in the back, but it's still gonna happen, okay? That is my promise to you. This will not happen again. Let me tell you what we're making tonight. I've been really excited about this, actually. I've been excited about this one for a while, for a couple of different reasons. This book was sent to me. This is Ancient Recipes of Bulgaria, and this was sent to me by an anonymous viewer. They have chosen to just refer to themselves as a viewer, which I respect. Everybody deserves to be anonymous if they would like to be. So secret viewer, I thank you very much. I appreciate this very, very much. This is a very fun little book. And it's a tiny little volume. It is not a fancy cookbook, but it's something even better. It's just like a lady. It's just a lady from Bulgaria, and they write about her in the back, and she just wanted to leave her recipes for her children and her grandchildren to be like, this is what life was like in Bulgaria back in the day. I can get behind that. So the recipes aren't fancy, but they're, I don't want to say authentic. It's such a little word, but like, yeah, they're real deal. They're just like, yeah, this is what I used to make on a Tuesday. I forgot to mention the author's name. It's Evdokia Krusteva. Come on. If you are playing a game of D&D and you need a name for your character, I feel like that's like a high elf. Like, can't you just see a high elf named Evdokia Krusteva? Like, that's a rad name. I took a look through here. A lot of times, you know, when you have like a vegetable focused kind of thing like this, sometimes you're out of luck with cookbooks, especially when they're little and there's not that many recipes in here. Chances are your options for a vegetable dish are gonna be kind of few. And that was the case. There's 3 vegetable forward recipes in here. The rest is very meaty, very bready, very sweet, which is fine. I enjoy all of those things, but for our purposes, I had it narrowed down to 3. The first of which was a nettle soup, which I would love to make something with nettles. I will at some point, I promise you, make something with nettles, but I don't have any nettles. So, I haven't seen any for sale, This is absolutely the season for them. It is currently spring, and it's a great spring forage food. We do have it growing around here, but not someplace where I would be authorized to go and forage it. I know you don't generally need authorization to forage, but I'm talking about like an actual nature preserve where like, don't do that. So I skipped that one. And then there was the second one, which was a red pepper spread. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. I like that. Lutenitsa. And the word lutenitsa is derived from the Bulgarian word for hot, which is lyut, L-Y-U-T. And I was like, oh, all of these sound like nice things. I'm into this. And then I started reading the ingredients. 2 pounds of red peppers, 3 pounds of tomatoes, 1 pound of eggplant, an entire cup of carrot puree, and I'm like, oh man, now we're like into 6 cucumber, 6 onion territory. Like, I can't keep making enormous quantities of food. I am one person. It also has an entire cup of sugar in it. And I was like, ooh. And I could technically cut the recipe down, and I might do that. I might eventually make this, and maybe I'll just do some kind of a substitute for the sugar. But there was another recipe that sounded like a lot of fun. It's Feta Shopski Style. And if you think my brain is not insisting on saying that to the tune of Oppa Gangnam Style, you're incorrect. That is happening on a loop right now, and I can't stop it. So Feta Shopski Style, no, I'm not going to do the dance. No, it's not because I can't. I totally could. I could do it really well. I just choose not to. It's also called Syrene Poshopski. And Syrene, it's like a feta cheese. Apparently, a lot of different countries have a version of basically what we would call feta. And the big difference is just different breeds of animal, because it can come from, I guess, cow, goat, or sheep. And the different breeds and what they eat in different places will give it a different sort of a flavor profile. We're just gonna use the feta we got. It's another layered dish. It is, remember I talked about making, a güveche? I still don't know what's the right way to say that. I'm doing my best. And that was a layered dish cooked in a little earthenware doodad. I didn't have a little earthenware doodad to cook that in. I had to use my Dutch oven. But these guys, they're individual little earthenware doodads. So I took the opportunity. I was not sad to have a need to buy a cute little thing. And I've been so excited to show this off. Oh, look, it's tiny and cute. This is so little and wee. Actually, I looked at a whole bunch of these. I looked for days. I looked forever at a million different versions of this. And there were some in different colors and stuff. And there was some that were like really pretty. A lot of them are much smaller. This, if I remember correctly, is maybe 10 ounces. And a lot of them were like 6 or 7. And I just felt like that was way too small. I didn't really have a solid concept of how big they needed to be. But I was like, well, let's just go with a slightly bigger one. And also, this is the only one I could get that was in a set of 2 as opposed to a set of 4. And although it's tempting to get a set of 4, space is kind of limited, and I don't technically need 4. I don't technically need 2. I could have done this with something else, but like, why not be authentic? So I got one in red, and I got one dark teal. They wouldn't have been my preferred colors, but like, those are adorable. I am not sad. Those are so cute. So that's what we're gonna use. And this is basically some vegetables and some feta and stuff, and it's layered and cooked in these little guys. There is one ingredient that is a prepared ingredient, so it should already be ready before you start, and that's roasted peppers. Now, had I thought about that, I might have bought a jar of roasted peppers, which are yummy and really good on sandwiches, but I didn't, and I don't have any. So we're gonna roast some peppers. Why not do a twofer? Before we do anything else, we're gonna roast some peppers. And plus, you know, why not do it from beginning to end? You know, like, we can decide how things are gonna be and we can make them the way that we want them to be from beginning to end. Also, I feel like roasted peppers is one of those things where I think we really underestimate how delicious it is and how easy and versatile it is. I think it's one of those things, it's like apples. Apples are a thing for me where if you ask me if I want an apple, I'm like, nah, I don't really want an apple. But when you're eating an apple, I'm like, how did I forget that apples are so good? Like, apples are delicious, they're amazing. Why don't I eat these more often? And then when I'm done eating the apple, You know, 5 minutes can go by. Oh, do you want an apple? I don't really like apples that much. I don't know why I keep forgetting. It's very easy to overlook how simple and delicious a roasted pepper is. And then when you're eating one, you're just like, God, these are so good. These are so good. And you can make them at any time, and they don't have to be part of a big dish. They don't have to be anything fancy. Fun fact, you can just eat them. If you're just like looking for something to eat that doesn't take a whole lot of effort, you can just roast some peppers and just eat them. First things first. Got a cookie sheet, and I got some tinfoil. Look how prepared I am. I've already got my tinfoil on there. Next, we're going to preheat our oven to 450. Yes, that is quite high, but you know, we could put it at a lower heat and then cook it forever. Your choice. I don't normally go that high, but I found a recipe that was like, no. I mean, one recipe was like lower heat, like 40 minutes of cooking, and then another one was like, put it at 450, cook it in 20 minutes. I was like, okay, let's do that. I'm into it. First things first, grab your pepper. There's a million ways to cut up your pepper. My favorite is just to cut around this little guy here, and then you can just pop the whole thing out. One go. Watch. Ideally, you would have this on a cutting board and not in the air. Ta-da! Whole thing comes out. And you can save these seeds and dry them out and plant some peppers. I did that one time. They didn't grow very well because I'm bad at growing things. But in theory, that would work very well. You can also just put that aside and put it in your stock. So next thing you're gonna do is you're just gonna chop them up into fairly large pieces. Maybe like 4 pieces per pepper. Then we're gonna put a little bit of olive oil on there just so they don't burn. Also, olive oil is tasty. You don't need a ton, just kind of a little drizzle. Then we're gonna want some sea salt. I took the last of the box of my sea salt because it was getting down pretty low, and I was like, I feel like I could fit it in a jar, and then I couldn't find the regular lid that goes to the mason jar. So I have these lids that I got for Brian's iced tea, and they've got, opens up and you get like a reusable straw can go in there. But it also turns out that's just like super easy and great for dispensing my kosher salt. So I accidentally figured out a cool thing. I have noticed there is no garlic in this recipe. I'm not judging, I'm just saying maybe there could be. We're just gonna add a couple little things to the peppers when we're roasting them. You know, these are our peppers, we can make them however we want. If you got them pre-roasted in a jar, who's to say there wouldn't be some spices on there? So, not a ton, because we don't want to change the flavor profile of the dish, which doesn't seem too complicated, to be honest. It's gonna be fine, but we don't want it to overpower. I am going to use some summer savory. I have noticed that in Bulgarian cooking, there is one herb that comes up over and over and over again, and they call it chubrica. I hope I am saying that correctly, but it's summer savory. Also, I looked up the difference between summer savory and winter savory, and they are very, very similar, but apparently summer savory is an annual and winter savory is a perennial, so it makes sense. Like, you're only gonna have this in the summer and they're gonna die, whereas winter savory, you can still have it during the winter. But it's apparently not as sweet, and it's maybe a little bit more bitter from what I was reading. So either way, summer savory is what you want. So it's not called for in the recipe, but it is a Bulgarian recipe, and this is like the flavor of Bulgaria apparently. So we're gonna toss a little bit of that on there. And that is totally, totally optional. Sorry, pepper grinder. Then we're just gonna mix it all around. Mix up the shoes. Mix up the shoes. I didn't plan for this. You'd think I would have. If there's one thing I have learned, it's that I do not learn. Oh, that smells so good. When I was a kid and we were just improvising food, because like we did a lot of food improvisation when I was a kid. We didn't have a lot of pre-made stuff. And a lot of times, like if you wanted to eat, you just had to figure something out, or you don't eat. That's how a lot of people end up learning how to cook. And one of the things that we would make a lot of the time is we would make like egg noodles or some other kind of noodles and butter and just a bunch of like herbs, and that's exactly what that smells like. Oh man, it really makes me miss that. I can't really have noodles anymore, but I can have the smell of my hands, and that is almost enough. I don't know, man, it's really late at night. So these are gonna go in our 450-degree oven for 20 minutes. Now we got 20 minutes. Read any good books lately? Yeah. Cool. Okay. I have to tell you what just happened. Look. This is a dumb story, but I gotta share this with you. I was just checking the peppers, and I was over here and I was close to the camera like I am now, okay? And I am looking at it like intently, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll film a little something. I don't know, but I'm focusing on what I'm doing, and then I heard a man's voice, real loud, real clear, like just right here, just go, excuse me? And I was like, what? Because that's not Brian's voice. We're the only two people here. And it sounds like there's a guy here in my apartment trying to get my attention because he said it in the way that you say it when you're trying to get a person's attention. And I'm like, who's in my apartment? Also, why? What is going on? And I was so, like, I short-circuited. I was so confused. And like, huh? And then the fire alarm went off because that's what happens when you open the oven. And then I realized what had happened. You see, what had happened was I had been watching something on Hulu, and Hulu likes to just turn itself back on sometimes when you have paused it. And so at that exact moment, it had decided to play, and that was just the line that somebody was about to say in that moment. I am still Ooh. All right, 7 more minutes on those peppers. Bye. So now our peppers are done roasting. I went ahead and let them rest a little bit so they're not quite so hot. Look how nice those look. They look really pretty. When you're roasting peppers like that, especially when you're doing it at high heat, you're gonna get a little blackening on the outside of the skin. That's fine. You can choose to remove that. You can save some of it, or you can take it all off. It's up to you, doesn't matter. I left most of it on. I did take a little bit off where it was very black. So now that we've got that, basically what we're gonna be doing is building layers. So what I have is I have some sliced tomatoes that I have already sliced, so you don't have to watch me and my terrible knife skills. You have some parsley, you have some feta cheese. It calls for feta slices, but I don't have sliceable feta. I have crumbly feta. That will have to work. And some hot peppers. So what you do is you just start kind of layering stuff, and then you bake that for 20 minutes. Then you're gonna take it out of the oven, put an egg on top, cook that until it's done, and then you top it with your hot peppers. So your hot peppers don't actually get cooked. I'm gonna keep that in mind when I'm making some decisions, because it doesn't say what kind of hot peppers. It just says hot peppers, so it can be anything I want. So for Brian, I think I'm gonna give him in his, I'm gonna dice up just a little bit of jalapeno. He doesn't like things as spicy as I do, but he likes a little bit, so I'm just gonna do a really fine dice of some jalapeno, not the whole thing, maybe half, maybe even less. For me, I have some Thai chilies, and just gonna use a few of those. According to this, you're gonna put some oil on the bottom of an individual sized earthenware baking dish with a lid, which we have. Now, from everything that I was reading, the most common oil used in Bulgaria would be sunflower oil, if I remember correctly. I don't have sunflower oil, so I'm gonna use olive oil. I did see, I was doing some research on this, and I even saw something that said if you don't have sunflower oil, you can use olive oil, but it won't be as good. And I was like, damn. All right, it's like that. There is going to be an episode. She can meow as much as she wants to. There is going to be an episode. I am not stopping. It doesn't say how much to put in the bottom. I think it's probably not gonna be a whole bunch. So just bloop. Enough to kind of coat the bottom, but not go nuts. I think it's mostly just to keep things from burning. The thing I like about this recipe is that it's pretty simple, and it sort of feels like this is the bones of a dish. Kind of like, think about pizza. The bones of pizza, you know, you've got basically a bread product, a sauce, and then cheese or not cheese. I've had pizza without cheese, and you know, whatever toppings. You can make that whatever you want. So I feel like this is a dish that can be improvised with different types of things. Maybe if I had if I had leftover grilled vegetables, like sometimes when you want to make like some grilled zucchini, I'll bet eggplant would be really nice, especially with that feta. Ooh, I'll bet that would be really good. And you can play with things. And if you have different types of peppers, speaking of which, do you remember the Supermarket Italy haul, the most recent one? I had that stuff. It was a garlic and chili pesto and had those big, wonderful chunks. Guess what? That stuff was delicious. It was so delicious. Nice and spicy, not like nutty spicy, but like really nice bite to it. It was just at the level of too spicy for Brian, perfect for me. And really good on a panini. Oh my God, I made a panini and put that on there and some arugula and some salami and some cheese and oh, so good. And I don't have any more of that. That is already gone. But that would be wonderful on there. So you can probably play around with this and do all kinds of things. So if this turns out well, even if it doesn't turn out well, I think I'm gonna take something from it and maybe play around with it in the future. Layer in the dish the tomato slices, pepper, cheese, and parsley. So that sounds like they want tomato to go first. Plap. Plap. And our peppers. And cheese. It's supposed to just be like a slab of cheese. I'm just gonna kind of put some in there, whatever feels right. And some parsley. I actually really love parsley. That is my oven saying it's preheated to 375, by the way, in case you were wondering. I'm glad I got the ones that were a little bit on the large side. I can't imagine doing this in one of the smaller ones because it's already, I've barely put anything in there. It's already kind of like almost half full. I got 3 layers. We'll just have some extras, I guess. Let's make a salad. Oh no, poor me. All right, so these guys here, I have a feeling these are gonna cook down pretty well. So, pop the lid on. It's just so cute. I mean, it's just, come on. Okay, so now again, these are gonna go in the oven for 20 minutes. Then we're done. When they're done, we're gonna pull them out, pop an egg on there. Hey, it's me again. So stuff is still cooking. I just wanna let you know. I took the parsley that I had cut up. I mean, you can't put it back in the fridge now that you chopped it all up. Took the rest of that. I took the last 2 pieces of the roasted pepper, and I took a couple of the slices of the tomato, and I kind of mixed it all together, chopped it up, mixed it together with a little bit of feta, and I threw a little bit of balsamic on there. Oh, it's so good. It turned out really nicely. Just based on this, what's in the oven is going to be super good. Okay, gonna go eat this. Bye. Moment of truth. I took them out with my awesome. I can't get enough of these. Like I love these. It's actually surprisingly hard to maneuver with these, but get in there. All right. It did cook down. I didn't I expected it to cook down a little bit more than that, but it smells real good. Some kind of cat-based calamity is happening behind me. I'm choosing not to know in this moment. There will be an episode. This episode is happening. I will not be derailed. So now we're gonna crack an egg into each one, and then we're gonna bake it for a quantity of time. I don't know. I feel like I want to make some kind of like a little divot in there. I don't know. Kind of flat. Yeah, see, it just kind of goes blurp to the side. I don't know that that's necessarily what I want. So, grab. Hot things are hot. What the hell was that? Stella? I don't know what she's doing, but like, she is making the most suspicious sounds. Every noise that she's making is just like something's being destroyed, but you can't tell from the sound what it is. But it's probably something that's really important to you. Maybe you should come and find out. No, I'm gonna finish this video. This red one looks a little bit nicer because I made the divot in there and it's sitting right in the middle. So we'll make that one Brian's. I'll give him the nice one. It does not say whether we're gonna cook this covered or uncovered. I'm gonna go ahead and cover it. I don't know. I will say, oh, don't break the yolk. Let me see, maybe I can. Okay. That works. I have not had good luck with baked eggs in the past. I think on 2 different occasions, attempted to make something that had eggs baked on them, and both times it was just like underdone, 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 overdone. And there was just no sweet spot. So, pop that on there. Hope for the best. I'm gonna pop these in the oven. So I'm glad that I thought to put a cookie sheet underneath them this time when I was cooking them with the egg on them. Because they did get a little juicy and they ran over a little bit, but they ran under the cookie sheet. Everything is fine. This one is Brian's. Look how nice that looks. I will say again, like, trying to give you a nice close-up here. I don't know if you can really tell. Some of the white is a little bit not quite set, and the yolk is like probably fine, but I hope that he's gonna be okay with this because I know he really doesn't like an unset white. Nobody does. I mean, that's gross. But I kind of don't want to put it back in the oven. So I'm gonna pop the little lid on there. And maybe with the lid on there, there's just a little bit of the residual heat will cook it a little bit more. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes before I bring that into Brian. This one, ooh, need a little plate to put that on. This guy is mine. The yolk is a little bit less done, but also some of the whites, again, not set. So I'm gonna toss my Thai chilies on there. I went a little bit light on the jalapenos for Brian. I didn't cut very much, and of what I cut, I put even less on there. So I'm gonna pop this on here for me. Toss my little lid on there. And again, hopefully have a little bit of continued heating with the residual heat. But I don't want to put it back in the oven. I just don't want it to be overdone. So they're saying that you should have it with some bread. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm up here now, it's because somebody took my stool. And I'd rather have her quietly sitting on this stool so I can finish this episode than going nuts over there. Look at that face. She doesn't care. She's got no remorse at all. So what I've got is some buttered rye toast. And I think that's gonna be perfect. Unfortunately, these pieces of rye are like really wide. So I put it in one way, let it go kind of half the way through, and then flipped it over. So now one side of it is like almost burnt and the other side is like not quite toasted. So so I think we'll each get one of the underdone side and one of the overdone. So you got to admit, that looks like a fancy dish. Like, this looks like a real person made this. Like a fancy person, maybe even. I'm gonna see how this tastes. I do have, by the way, when everything is better and everybody's vaccinated and things are safe, I do have a friend who's gonna come over and help me with cameras and things. Somebody who knows a lot more about it than I do. So just put up with this in the meantime. Just remember the most important thing is that we get an episode out there. We're doing what we can. Okay, so let's just kind of, okay, that yolk is beautiful. I am a fan of this yolk. I kind of want to mix it up a little bit, get all of the flavors. But they're all in big chunks, and despite having cooked in the oven, like, it's still pretty chunky. I'm gonna set this down, or otherwise I'm gonna drop it. I'm just gonna kind of pile it on a piece of toast and eat it like this. If there's anybody from Bulgaria watching, or in Bulgaria watching, first of all, hello. Second of all, if you're watching and you're going, that's not how you eat that, you're doing this wrong, I apologize. I don't know better. It's nice. I tell you what's weird. The flavors are not very strong. Oh, pardon me. Those Thai chilies really showed up to the party. So there's a lot of burn, but nothing but the flavor suggests that there should be burn. So there's a little, like, my brain is a little confused right now. My mouth's very happy, very burned, like very like nice and spicy. I don't know, maybe it needs a little salt. I do find it interesting there's no salt in the recipe. I just realized there's no salt in the recipe. Maybe they're thinking that because I mean, feta can be a salty cheese. So maybe they thought that was gonna be enough. A little bit of that on there. Let's see what that does. Good. Salt definitely makes a difference. So if you're making this, add some salt. Gee, I sure wish I could sit down. Nope, not gonna happen. Hey, Stella. Yep. I'm not gonna pet her because now I have Thai chilies on my hands. I know. I love you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yes, you are a good cat. No, I don't believe me either, but I tried. Anyway. So I'm gonna bring Brian's into him. I'm gonna go take Brian his. I would film an episode of Cheating on Meat so that I could see what, so I could show you what he thinks of it. But he is streaming currently, so he's just gonna kind of eat it while he streams. He's on Twitch right now. If you ever want to check him out, his handle is The Dead Elvis. So it's twitch.tv/TheDeadElvis. No, don't sniff at my fingers. They've got peppers on them. I know, I love you. She demands kisses. Thank you very much to the viewer who sent me this book. I really, really appreciate that. If you would like to send me something on my Amazon wish list, please feel free to do that. It is in the description at the bottom. A note about that. I do not care about the I was gonna say the quality of books. I don't care about the appearance of books. So if something is like a $30 book and somebody's selling it for way cheaper on the marketplace, go ahead and get that. Even if they're like, oh, it's got some scribbling in it or it's missing a cover, I don't care about that. Save yourself some money. I'm not looking to ask anybody to spend any more than they absolutely have to. However, if you do that, keep in mind that you can't put a gift note in there. So if you do that, please drop me a line. My email address is meatandveg@gmail.com. It is in the description so that you get the exact spelling of that. Just let me know that you sent it and who sent it and what I should call you and maybe what your pronouns are and stuff and how I should address you, because I would like to say thank you. Unless you would like to keep it anonymous, which is also totally fine. You're allowed to do that. Also, you don't have to buy me anything. So if you just want to watch the episodes, like, that's cool too. I appreciate you very much. No. This cat. You don't want that. So yeah, but if you would like to help me out, you can always like and subscribe. That's totally free. And that's just as good. Or you can just watch and do none of that. I still appreciate you watching it all. So thank you very much. I'm glad I got this episode out. It was a slightly calamitous one, but at least it got done. So I will see you next time, every Thursday. Come what may, I will not fail again. I will have an episode for you. Stella and I say bye.
Hey, turn up the caramello and chisel on the shizney. It's time for me to what? Let me introduce myself. I'm Gino Burrito. My pants are made of leather. I find it hard to concentrate.